what's up?
Red Panda Anthem.
Red Panda, what's good?
Red Panda Anthem.
Your boy.
What's going on,
There
brother?
he is. There
What up,
he
y'all?
is.
What's going
How you
on? What's up? I'm learning, man. I
doing?
gotta cop some watches. Hold up. Yeah, man, put me on. What's up?
I got you,
Which
Mike.
one I gotta check?
Now,
I got you.
Mike, put him on. We'll talk after this. Mike will take care of you.
What's going on, brother?
What's up, man? Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. Big fans of y'all, man. I'm taking some notes right now. I appreciate y'all.
Nah,
Oh,
all
love
good,
is love,
man.
man.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Huge fan
Thank
of you.
Seriously, man.
So Frank, I wanted to bring you on because if anybody's not familiar, Frank is a correspondent at CNBC, and you do a great job all the time. But you had no problem. You did a report a couple weeks ago about black net worth in this country, and reposted it, and it just took off. Went viral all over Instagram, TikTok. A lot of people have different opinions, different views on it. But I think it's important, like I said, to just have a more, involved conversation than just like, it's a 60-second or a 30-second just soundbite on Instagram. So I wanted to just bring you on, and then hopefully we could talk about that and then a few other topics. So I will just briefly just go over the stat if anybody is not familiar with what I'm talking about. So the stat was that Black spending power reached a record in 2021, $1.6 trillion. And that's according to the Selig Center at the University of Georgia. Am I pronouncing that right?
Selig?
Yeah, the Selig Center. Yeah, but I mean, it's University of Georgia. You can just say that.
The University of Georgia. Okay. And that's up since 2000. It's up 171%. But during that time, Latino spending power is also up 288%. Asians is up 383%. And the overall is up 144%. So that would seem like some level of encouraging news. But what's not encouraging is that according to the St. Louis Fed, they put out a report on the net worth, and Black net worth is actually down. So that's interesting because it would assume that if spending is up, net worth would be up too, because there's more money. So what they're saying is that the Black net worth has actually decreased by 14% and is $24,000 per family, while the Latino net worth has increased 112%, which is $36,000 per family. The white net worth has increased 6% and is $189,000 per family. So, all right.
It's a lot.
Yes, let's unpack this a little bit, Frank. So, okay. This information comes from the Fed. And if you're not familiar, the St. Louis Fed is one of the 12 branches of the Fed. They have 12 branches of Fed banks. And to my understanding, how they actually collect this data is like through surveys. It's like political polling, like kind of similar situation like that, right? So, but how do we come about this number to say, okay, spending is up, but net worth is down? That's a little disturbing. That's very disturbing. I would just assume that it's not enough assets being acquired. Would you say the same thing?
I mean, I think it really comes down to your slogan, man, assets over liabilities. If you're spending that money on things that don't appreciate in value, that lose their value when you drive it off the lot, or in some cases, as soon as you put it on your wrist, you guys are talking about, high end from the dealer watches. But if you're spending on other things that don't gain value over time, then your money's going out, but you're not building wealth. It's not even any more complicated than that. And you see the numbers for other people. Other groups, I should say, they're spending their money on things that appreciate, whether it's houses, investing in businesses, stocks, crypto, a lot of things you talk about on this podcast all the time.
Question for you, if we can have an honest conversation, do you think that we truly want to be free, and can the racial wealth gap be closed?
Absolutely, man. Like I don't know about all you guys, your backgrounds, but I know I didn't grow up in a house where anybody had a college degree. We were probably unbanked before that term even existed. I used to have to be embarrassed and spend stamps at the store sometimes. I didn't know anything about stocks or credit or, much more than a checking and a savings account. And then you need to try to go to college and be a doctor over there. That's all the nuance I had about finance. So the more you know, the more educated you become, the more enlightened you are. Not only do you learn about these these tentpole things like stocks and housing. You learn about other ways to make money, alt finance, real estate, like you're just talking about, watches, maybe even comic books. You were mentioning handbags a short time ago. If you look at companies like StockX and GOAT and Stadium Club, they're getting in the handbag business. They're not doing it because they're losing money. So you have to just broaden your sense of what an investment is, but you have to start off with the tentpole things: stocks, homes, 401k, bonds. I know bonds are the most boring thing in the world. And trust me, I don't like to read about them or talk about them that often, but they're a safe investment. There's some things that my colleague, John Ford, he actually highlighted this to me. I bonds, they're inflation bonds. They're bonds that keep up with inflation. It's almost impossible to lose money. And until you become a more sophisticated investor, you don't really know about these things. So Ian, back to your question, long answer, absolutely. We all want to be free. Everybody wants to have power over their own life and the ability to secure the future of their family. Every person in this world.
Frank, so we're at the forefront, I feel like, of a financial revolution. Obviously, we've been teaching financial literacy amongst other people in the space. When I heard the report, slightly surprised, but you've been in this business a lot longer, on the broadcasting side of it. What was your initial reaction to it? And what are your thoughts, right? Because I feel like when we're meeting people, I hear a lot of more people that look like us are actually investing. They have real estate, they're in stocks. Is it a fair assessment of a forecast for the future? What are your thoughts?
I mean, Troy, I'm gonna stop you first off. Good to meet you, man. We're not in the same business, man. You guys are doing some phenomenal work, man. First, you have people learning about things, and you have people talking about things, and then you have people talking to other people about things that are actually meaningful. These are two different businesses. I report on things that happen. I had the fortune of working at CNBC. We do a lot of forward-looking and reporting to put out information that's actionable and investable. But what you guys are doing, man, is really just phenomenal. And this movement you started is amazing. I agree with you, it was disturbing. I think the most disturbing thing is that Black people, sometimes we feel like we're doing better. But when you look at the numbers, and yeah, numbers can lie sometimes, it doesn't really look like that. 50 years ago, more Black people owned houses. I showed you the stats right there. 20 years ago, more Black people own houses. Black home ownership has declined by 3% since 2000. And some of that is tied to why we have less net worth, but there are actually some other reasons. Some of it's spending. I mean, I think a lot of us know somebody who just posted a picture from Tulum or something.
Frank, so you've noticed.
Yeah, you know.
We are in the same business, Frank. What are you talking about?
Right. Like you down in Tulum, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't have your money in the bank. And another stat that was in that report on the back end of it. Every year, Black families accumulate $300 billion less in wealth than white families. Every single year. So that racial wealth gap is growing. A lot of it is inheritance. And I want to speak from personal experience. My mom went to heaven a few years ago. She was an amazing woman. She dropped out of high school to have me. I do have a great dad too. I don't ever want to leave him out because we got to always mention fathers. But dropped out of high school to have me. She was a secretary, eventually worked her way to having a great job in construction, then opened up her own construction company. Definitely a success story. She learned about stocks. She learns about mortgages, but we never did our wills. And I had the good fortune of being an only child. So there was no dispute. There was no problems. But for a lot of people, they actually lose wealth when the person they love passes away. And I'm sure that person wants to take care of their family and make that transition and that time of grief easier. But a lot of us just don't have wills. There's a lot of people that can't afford to bury their relatives when they pass away. Imagine that.
This is a very important conversation. You're touching on a lot of topics, and the transfer of wealth process is something that and that's something that we've been trying to hammer home about wills and trust and life insurance and power of attorneys and healthcare proxies. And yes, there's a lot of different, it's not, and a lot of times people look at numbers and they say that's not true. And I can understand the disbelief because obviously, our history in this country it causes for, certain concern for not, fully believing things. That's completely understandable. But I would say this, I used to be a financial advisor for 12 years before I did this. And the most alarming thing for me was actually seeing the difference between Black people and white people when it comes to wealth. What I mean by that is, coming in and I'm working in a financial planning firm and pretty much everybody there is white. And, the guys are telling me like, I got $50 million of assets under management, 100, 200 million. And I'm trying to be educated. Like, well, how did you do that? And they're like, well, all you need is a couple people. Like one person gives you $400,000 to manage. Another person gives you $500,000 to manage, before you before you have $1 million, then, somebody else gives you 700,000. And I'm thinking like, I don't know anybody that has $10,000. Like, I don't know anybody that has $200,000 to just give me to invest. But I realized that in America, it's still very segregated as far as like where we are. So the people that we are around people similar to us. Mm-hmm. So you don't even fully realize what's going on the other side of the playing field. So you don't even have a full perspective of how wide the wealth gap is, because you're not really exposed to that on a daily basis, right? You're not really exposed to people that have millions of dollars that they can just invest at any point in time, and they can just buy a home, or they can just buy anything that they want. Most of the time, you're not really exposed to that. And most of the time you're exposed to, your environment. So if you're in a blue class working environment, then that's who you're around and that's who you're exposed to. And that's kind of become normal. But for other people, that's not really normal. So there is a huge disparity in this country when it comes to wealth, because I don't even need to see a survey. I actually saw it. I worked in financial services for 12 years, and I saw from the white financial advisors, their clients, and the black financial advisors and their clients. And of course, most of the black financial advisors, 99% of their clients were black. Most of the white financial advisors, 99% of their clients were white. Most of the black financial advisors, they were dealing with 529 plans and IRA rollovers of, they wasn't really dealing with millions of dollars of investable assets. They just wasn't, because their clients didn't have that type of money. Where the white investors, the white financial advisors, it was a completely different story. Mm-hmm. So, I think a lot of times we do have to question things, but we also have to understand that some of the stuff actually comes with a certain level of truth to it. So it's like, how can we fix the problem, as opposed to just saying it's not true? Because it's like, you're not really qualified to say it's not true unless you actually know it's not true.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, some of it is systemic. Let's not ever overlook that. Some of it's systemic. Some of the wealth from our communities has been intentionally pulled out, or we've been blocked from the means to actually attain it and hold on to it, period. But that doesn't excuse everything. Some of it is spending, and Troy was laughing. I was laughing about the Tulum pictures. I mean, my timeline's flooded, like right now.
Mine too.
Sometimes you got to decide how you want to spend your money, where you want to spend your money. And as you mentioned, it's also, some of it's the company you keep. If you're around 9 broke people, you're about to be the 10th.
But it's also a matter of education and being locked out of certain opportunities and certain doors as well. Because even working in the financial services industry and seeing different things, I realized that's one of the reasons why we started this platform. A lot of people just weren't fully educated, and they were not aware of different things. So that is a major hurdle right there. We still haven't gotten through to everybody yet. And then also what I want to talk about too is that we talked about like the Black net worth. The Guardian had released a report that it will be 0 in like 30 years. And Andrew Yang it said something that was extremely powerful, where he talked about a economic tsunami hitting, and it's going to hurt the Black community more than anything. We talk about tech. So, when you're talking about these different things where it's like, all right, we know that a lot of jobs are going to be lost through tech. Inflation is at, record levels right now, right? So these are all things that, even if you have education on financial literacy and you're not wasting your money, if you're not skilled, if you're not a skilled worker or a high level entrepreneur, you're still not going to really make a difference in this situation, because it's like most of our entrepreneurs are more lower level entrepreneurs, where it's really like you're just kind of working for yourself and you're not really making any money. And then most of the workers are not skilled workers. So, they can easily be replaced, and they're not making a substantial amount of money. Like, they're not like brain surgeons and not, people that's working in Silicon Valley. You look at Silicon Valley, and almost less than 1% of the people that's actually working there are Black. Did we lose Frank?
I think we lost Frank.
Yeah, I think so.
He didn't go to Tulum, did he?
Hope not. But Ian,
Got a flight to catch.
but while he comes back, because because that's a conversation that's not really talked about enough either.
Yeah.
Skilled workers and high level entrepreneurs. That's what we should be focusing on.
Let me just give you a statistic really quick. So it's a great point you said, because approximately out of 6.7 million Black workers, 42% of the workers currently hold jobs that could be subject to disruption by 2030. That's 8 years from now. So you're talking about millions of people that could literally, if they don't have a skill, their skill could be automated. And now they don't have a job. And if they don't learn anything in the entrepreneurial world, then what do they do?
You're in trouble.
You're in big trouble.
And that's why I would tell you some.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna throw it to you.
Just give him a report. Frank's computer crashed, so he's restarting it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is why we had this conversation a few weeks ago, Ian. We were like, look, if we don't learn a skill, if we don't properly educate ourselves over the next 2 to 3 years in investing, right? We always talk about it's going to be tough to work your way to wealth. If we don't learn a skill, right, over the next 2 to 3 years, or invest in an asset class like a new one like cryptocurrency, or invest in the stock market, and our jobs are being replaced, where is the money going to come from?
And somebody said, what skill? Coding. That's a high level skill that will get you a high paying job right now, even if you don't have
how to invest.
Yeah.
The one no one ever talks about, being the most reliable in your industry. That's what I always say. Those emails don't matter. Go look at the Forbes list. Top 500 people. They have a unique gift that most people don't have. And I know some of you be like, damn, you always be ranting. I don't think you guys realize, like, the people that I'm around. So when I was with Gary Vee, Grants, et cetera, shout out Mike Boyd, all of those conversations are about, you need a baseline of 100 million minimum to be secure. Ross told them 10 on assets of a liability on revolt. I feel tight with 10 million. People don't want to tell you the truth. So when I get on here and rant, you guys are like, yo, man, Rashad Troy, please tell Ian to calm down. It's not that serious. If you have less than 1.5 million and you have 2 kids, you're broke. It is that damn serious.
No, it's real.
Then we have to have a collective conversation as a community. What are we going to do collectively to be okay? Because it's not okay if 2 out of 10 of us invest and save money. Not enough. And I'm going to be real. The Jim Jones, I love Jim. That bothered me though. Couldn't get water in Gucci. The answer is to quit buying Gucci, Prada. All those are slave names. Tiffany and Co. Wait, you bought your girl a Tiffany bracelet and you're Black. They were the ones who made the slave jewelry for the slaves when they came over on a fucking boat. But y'all want to tell me about my attitude. I'm free. We have to collectively decide. And this is the issue. I'm going to be real. A lot of y'all in corporate that are Black, that are from the suburbs, man, the ones in the trap and the trenches want this a lot better than y'all. Y'all comfortable. We have to collectively build. So don't mess with Mikey.
Yeah, no, it's a fact. And they were saying, I'm glad that I'm looking at the earners in the chat. They're like, what skills? We talk about a lot of companies here that you should be listening to, right?
Investing, building a business. Those are the only 3.
When we talk about Amazon and we talk about Microsoft, we always talk about their cloud business, right? That's not going anywhere, right? That's something that you should be looking into. Engineering is something you should be looking into. Cybersecurity. It's like, these are career, like it's around
everything that we talk about on Market Mondays. That what makes those companies run? What makes those companies?
Yes.
What makes Microsoft run? What makes Apple run? What makes AMD run? Computer chips. What makes all of these companies that you invested in, as to these top companies, Tesla? Yeah. What makes those companies run? You can just reverse engineer it,
right? And
those are the skills that are critical and will be even more critical in the next 20 years.
Yeah, shout out to the earners. Y'all know it's dope. I can't see the YouTube comments, but y'all know. Right? Somebody just typed healthcare. Of course. Look, we just came. We're still in the end of a pandemic, right? Like healthcare. Think about that. And we talk about companies in these fields, in these sectors. So on top of saying like, okay, yeah, we can own a piece of the company. Yeah, you might, if you're still working, let's try to find a skill that we can actually become part of the company and be an investor inside of it as well. Let's take all the pieces on the table. Why not?
And if you are younger than 25 years old, please write this down. Nuclear fusion is one of the most important spaces you need to learn and read about. Because then if we can take hydrogen atoms and spin them with other things and make cleaner energy out of them, that's going to be incredibly important. This is why I always stress to you guys read. And some of you are like, hey, I can't read 500 pages. I guarantee you took your ass to the mall to get your girl a gift tonight, so you can get what you need to get at the end of the night. King, I don't want to hear no excuses.
Nah, you can do
what
it.
Happened. If she comes to the EY meet up and LeBron never, with Tristan, shout out Tristan, he glowing. Some of these people in person look like gods and goddesses. I don't know. that you and your mama and your whole mama side of the family don't have to work. That's a good pitch to open up with.
It's a good pitch.
Get on your craft, King.
If your significant other's phone is on silent notification,
It's over with.
It's a bad red flag tonight. If it's
Red flag
silent,
on a play.
if it's just tonight, because it's only
Even during the day,
8:50. It's only 8:50. If you're on
Listen.
silent notification,
Not tomorrow's as another red flag day. Yo, we can get up tomorrow. Let's do it tomorrow.
if you're on silent notification, and
You
you
need
have
to see
never
if she
been on
really
silent,
got her eyebrows threaded at 12:30. She may not have.
Wait. If she had the last appointment by 1, it's a red flag.
Hey, let me see on the spot, baby. Because Tim with no car, man, gave her 88 minutes of quality time. You know what I'm saying? You got to be careful. Check all investments. I'll check my investments 3 times a day. All. Trading has considerable risk. Please consult your advisor. Maybe she wasn't at the last appointment.
You said dating has considerable risk or trading?
trading.
Trading. Dating too.
Both.
Oh, both.
Yes, well, extremely.
Happy Valentine's Day, y'all.
Frank,
welcome back.
welcome back.
Thank you, man. You know,
We do this-
Computer
we
be
do-
cranking, man. I got
Yeah.
a program
The little
going on
comedy
this thing all the
segment.
time.
We do this every now and then. We just try to
Yeah.
just lighten the mood a little bit. Frank, but you're from Philly originally?
Yeah, I'm from Philly.
Philly. Shout out to Philly. So
Always shout out to Philly, man.
working in CNB Philly, obviously blue collar town, very, very blue collar.
Shout out
city.
to the joints out there.
Working in CNBC and being around, a different level of wealth that I'm assuming you grew up around. What's the different level of conversation that you hear? That's the kind of stuff that I'm always interested in. Like, you're around people that millionaires, billionaires, extremely high level, people in Wall Street. Like, what's the level of conversation that you're hearing that, most people are not aware of that's taking place?
Well, let me back it up for a minute, man. I did grow up. My parents were teenagers when they had me, but talk about alternative investments. They really invested in education. Like, I went to a Montessori kindergarten. I went to a new school. I eventually got a scholarship to a friend's school, which is a Quaker school in Philadelphia. It's a really good private school. So I've had the fortune of being around people from all different classes, like Chelsea Clinton's husband, I went to school with. You know what I mean? Like people like that, you know what I mean? The kids of Congress people and stuff like that. So I've had that good fortune. CNBC is obviously the next level. I get to talk to CEOs, CFOs, billionaires sometimes. And you know what, man? You'd be surprised. The small talk is very similar to the small talk we all have about sports and things like that. But when they're talking about higher level things, they've read in more. You know what I mean? Like they have a deeper conversation. Sometimes you talk to somebody and you bump into somebody like, man, I'm gonna buy some Doge. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna buy some too. They're not talking like that, man. They're talking about, the long-term utility of the cryptocurrency and which one is going to make the transfer into Web3 and things like that. And so that's really the difference. We all talk about the same things. And I said it before, we all want a better quality of life and secure the future of our families. At the end of the day, that's what everybody wants.
Yes. Let's switch.
Go
Go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, I want to get to some solutions for those who want them. The current racial wealth gap is 11.2 trillion. I think it's like 44 points.
Yeah, at least it's at least 11.2 trillion. If you talk to William Darity from Duke University, their business school, he says it could be even greater. It really depends on the math that you use and the formula that you use. And he's a big believer that the biggest cause of it is systemic racism. I want to make sure, because I often cite his research, I want to make sure I give him credit. Dr. William Darity of Duke University.
So what are 2 things we can do tonight collectively as a community to get the ball rolling to overturn that gap?
I'm not an expert. I'm gonna refer to research. I'm not an expert myself. One of the big things we can do that all of us can do today is just spend more money with Black businesses. I mean, it's not even more complicated than that. It's keeping more money within the Black community circulating. And it's also just not being afraid to do business and talk about business with each other. I think that's one of the 2 big things. Like, a lot of times, and I've been guilty of this myself, I'm never talking from a high horse. I've done this myself. I'm scared to tell another Black person how much money I make when they're applying to my job. I'm scared to tell them, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I asked for these perks and stuff. You know what I mean? Why won't I tell you? You know what I mean? It's really 9 times out of 10 a favored nation thing. Once 2 or 3 of us get it, everybody can get it. But we feel like we want to hold on to the information and hold on to the benefits. But I had a friend of mine, he just flat out told me, you're applying to this job, here's how much I make, here's how much you should ask for. And I mean, just that information can push us to the next level.
This that Red Panda Anthem.
Ian, what's up?
This that Red Panda Anthem.
Rap Panda, what's
This
good?
that Red Panda Anthem.
Your
Whole
boy.
clique going up.